Some of you are lucky. You went back to school just last week after Labor Day. The rest of us, we have been in school now going on 6 weeks. And quite frankly, most of us are hitting the wall of tired. If that's you, I encourage you to stick around so that I can share with you 5 simple steps to help you not only get over the wall of tired, but get over the wall of tired in excellence while you serve your students and do it to the best of your ability. Stay tuned. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Red Couch Chronicles. Before I begin this episode, I'd like you to do me a favor. If you can just glance down at the bottom of your screen and see if you are subscribed to my channel. If you are subscribed to my channel, do me a favor and give me a big thumbs up. If you are not subscribed, please do me the favor and subscribe so that you will not miss another episode of what I have to share with you. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 quick steps as a teacher that you can use to help you get over the wall of tired in your classroom. Now, like I said, some of you have been lucky enough to be able to start school after Labor Day. And really and truly, I don't know whether that's lucky or if it's unlucky, because if you're starting after Labor Day, that means that you're working until the end of June. But for those of us who went back in the month of August, those of us whose school year ends in the month of May, for those of us, we are actually getting into our 6th week of school. Can you imagine already? It's like we blinked and the school year is just starting to run by. So whether it is you're on a semester system or whether it is you're on a quarter system, I am going to share with you 5 quick ways in which you can get over that wall of tired and keep the momentum going in your classroom. Now, way number 1, I want to share with you. As an elementary teacher, and I can't speak necessarily for middle school teachers, or high school teachers, because this is not my area of expertise, but I know especially for elementary school teachers where we are planning all subjects, all lessons for all subjects. So that is your math, your science, your social studies, your reading, your language arts, your grammar, what name you, we're doing it. And you're finding that in planning 6 or 7 subjects for your students, you are becoming undone. The resources are short. It's difficult now, unless you're on a site where you're buying stuff to make your centers, or you're putting centers together, you're making that stuff up on your own. It can be a daunting task to plan for several subjects. But the first tip I'd like to share with you today is simple. Integrate. Instead of teaching your subjects in isolation, teach them together by maybe combining a social studies and language arts, by maybe combining your science and your math, maybe even combine your reading and your science, because what you're doing when you integrate is you're getting more bang for the buck. And the lessons that you plan will go a lot farther than if you're actually planning lessons in isolation. And so, for example, one example that I can use, our social studies texts in the county in which I work come with some little readers that go along with the concept or the skill or the event or the time period that we're studying. And so what I do is when I'm planning my reading centers, I pull those little booklets, and this is what I'm using to have my students look for the skills that we're studying in reading. And so what that does is, even though they're reading and they're learning and being enriched in their reading skills, they're actually getting content through social studies. So tip number 1 to get more bang for your buck is to integrate. The second tip I'd like to share with you is to collaborate. Now, many of us, and at times, and I have been in the past guilty of this, we tend to go in our classroom and we tend to close the door and work even ourselves in isolation. But guess what? What is the sense in reinventing the wheel when you have several other teachers on your team who is teaching exactly the same content? Now, I can already hear the comments and I can already hear the buzzing. Well, Danielle, this person might not plan like me, and this person does not have the same students as I do, or this person is not as conceptually minded as I am in my classroom. And I get it, but at the same time, what is wrong with going down the hall and saying, I have this activity per se, or this reading center, would you like to use it? Can I trade this reading center for something maybe that you are doing in math and science? And what this will do is, one, it'll stop you from taxing your brain to constantly have to rewrite and invent new lessons. And it will also help you to get closer to your team, and it will help you and your team collaborate and work in unison for the benefit of your students. So tip number 2 is to collaborate. Tip number 3 that I like to share with you is to compartmentalize. And this is a big one. And when I say compartmentalize, I don't mean compartmentalize in your subjects. Not at all what I'm meaning. I'm meaning for yourself as a teacher. In the same way that you have taught your students procedures and schedules, and they know that this part of the day is say for this task, and at 10 o'clock every morning we write down our homework, and at 11:15 this is when we have our second bathroom break of the day. In the same way, you compartmentalize many of the tasks that you have to do as a teacher. So for example, what I do, I have days that I use strictly only to grade tests. And that day, as a matter of fact, is Monday. I will stay late after school, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours at most, and I will grade whatever papers I have to grade, put the grades in the grade book, and I know for that week I am done. Let's say, for example, if I want to plan my lesson plans for next week, Wednesday and Thursday, I'm either going to come in early that morning or I'm going to stay late that afternoon, and I know that those are either my early days or my late days because I have to get my lesson planning done. Do the same thing. Start to compartmentalize and schedule certain activities for only certain days, because you see what happens if you don't do this. First of all, you might choose to stay a day after work one day, and by the time you get comfortable, by the time your coworkers have passed by your doorway, saying hello to you, saying goodbye to you, stopping in to chat, by the time you get comfortable behind your desk, you're either too tired to look at a lesson plan, too tired to grade papers, or you're saying to one of those coworkers who are walking to the door, hey, hang on, I'll walk out with you. So make it a point to set aside pockets of time and to write it down and to put it in your planner and to say, on this day, I'm staying to grade papers and grade papers only. On this day, I'm staying to go into the book room to get books for my lessons, and on this day only. On this day, I'm going to stay late or I'm going to come in early so that I can start my lesson planning for next weekend. And once you start to get into that rhythm of doing the same thing, which I know can become a little tedious at times, but it's the discipline. And once you start to get that discipline and once you start to get that schedule going, then you'll see that the work is no longer a long list of things to do, but it actually becomes your action plan. So number 3 on the list that I'm sharing with you today is to compartmentalize. 4 on the list that I want to share with you today is to celebrate your little successes. Many times, and even as a teacher, I myself have done this, we look at this long to-do list. As a matter of fact, I left one on my desk. I've had one on my desk from the beginning of the school year to now we're into the 6th week of school, and that to-do list has not shrunk. As a matter of fact, it continues to get longer and longer and longer, because before you can get to the things that are already on that list, guess what? You're adding things down at the bottom. And so what I find helps me is that I'm not waiting to celebrate the completion of that to-do list, but if I get through my lesson plans on a Wednesday for the following week, you bet your bananas that I'm happy and I'm proud of myself and I'm celebrating. Oh my gosh, my lesson plans for next week is done. If I choose to stay on a Monday to get my grading done and I get through my entire basket and that basket for the week is empty, you bet your bananas I am celebrating. Celebrate your little successes. Celebrate the successes of your teammates. Celebrate the little successes of your students. And bit by bit, those little successes will turn into bigger successes, and those bigger successes will turn into lists of completions, and before you know it, your work will be done. Now, hey, it might be the last day of school before all your work is done, but at least along the way, you have celebrated those little successes, all right? So tip number 4 for getting over that wall of tired is celebrating your little successes. And finally, tip number 5 that I would like to share with you is to encourage yourself. Too many times, we beat up on ourselves. Oh my gosh, I haven't finished my lesson plan. Oh my gosh, I have so much work to do. Oh, what am I gonna do? I haven't finished my profile sheets. This, what can I say? Activity is due. I have to have this done by such and such a date. I'm just overwhelmed and I'm drowning and I'm shrinking. I don't know what to do. Encourage yourself. Encourage yourself. Look, like I said, for the little successes that you are having and talk your way through it. Affirm yourself. I am a good teacher. As a matter of fact, I am an excellent teacher. No, I may not have everything that I should have had done today before the day started, but at the same time, my lesson plans are there, and whatever we do not finish today, I can always bump over to tomorrow. No, my students may not have mastered the skill that I wanted them to master this week, but hey, we have reading centers, and we have math centers, and we have science and social studies centers, and guess what? As I continue to give them practice in those skills, they will get it. Encourage yourselves, my colleagues. Encourage your students. Encourage one another. Like I shared in a video that I did, Happy School Year 2016-2017, that was one of the things that I mentioned. We have to encourage others. We have to look for the silver lining. We have to stop taking our jobs so seriously to the point where we are slaves to the work and not necessarily nurturers of our students. And so tip number 5 that I like to share with you is to encourage yourself. And as you incorporate these 5 tips into your daily routine, guess what? Then the wall of tiredness might not be so high anymore, and you'll find yourself scaling that wall and moving on to bigger and better things. Now, hey, there may be another wall of tiredness waiting for you during midterms or in the middle of the school year, but I have just shared with you 5 great tips that you can use so that you'll be able to get over that tiredness. I would love to hear from you. If there are any more comments, or not comments, if there are any more tips rather that you would like to share or add to this list, please feel free to do so in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. And like I said earlier, if you have not already subscribed to this channel, please make sure you do so you don't miss another video. Until next time, my colleagues, I look forward to seeing you again on this red couch soon. Thanks for watching. Bye now.